Live. Welcome to the Gamery. I am your host, EC Bond, and this is Watching Paint Dry. Tonight, I have a very special guest, my buddy Chris DeLeon. He is a miniature painter. He's taught me quite a few things, and tonight he's going to be working on some pieces. Chris, go ahead and say hey.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Chris, and I've been painting for just a couple years. And EC Bond's a friend of mine, and we have game nights together, and we like to paint. So we're gonna be doing that both tonight.
And very cool. So we were actually having the conversation, and it was a good conversation. And I was like, oh man, like this is good. It's exactly what we want. Let's start the stream. Let's just go. Let's do it. let's just start chatting. Um, Chris was saying
Let's do it.
he's imagining us like sitting around having a beer, painting some miniatures, and just having a conversation. I think it's exactly right. So, Chris,
Yeah.
go ahead, Chris.
Just talking about the paint jobs, talking about what makes us, what drives us as an artist, what we like doing, how we like to paint, and
Oh yeah.
um, painting for the passion of it.
I was saying you had mentioned that really struck with me when doing commission work, because
Uh huh.
I've done some. I haven't done a lot, but whenever I do, I actually miss the miniature more than I want the money. If that makes sense. It's like I painted Blood Rage for a buddy of mine, and he has it at his place. And every time I go over there, I'm always bugging him to play the game just so I can see my miniatures.
Yeah. That's it's kind of difficult to let these things go.
Yeah, yeah,
We're, when it's commission work, it's not our personal. It's like, all right, you gotta let go of it.
yeah.
And for the most part, a lot of times
Oh,
that's pretty easy. But sometimes, just sometimes, uh, I'll like, especially if I'm currently painting for somebody something I currently have,
hmm.
and I'm doing a better job on with for them, for like maybe because I painted my box set of whatever it is like maybe 2 or 3 years ago,
Of course.
and now I'm applying all my up to date skills, and it's like, wow, this is coming out way better than what I have. And it's like, oh well, hey, that's part of it though. You just gotta let go and
that's
just go with it.
that's a big thing too. Is that painting a miniature is almost like the first time you do it, you're kind of discovering it. The second time you go through and you paint it, you just have that knowledge of it, and it's almost like an intimate experience. Like, oh, we're doing this again, huh? All right, let's see. Let's go there. Let's find these things.
You know what I found out, that for me personally, like painting several box sets in a row allowed
Mm-hmm.
me to really hone in on an effect. Like sometimes, let's just say I'm painting a shoulder pad on a Space Marine, all right,
Hmm.
and I'm getting a certain gradation going, or I'll get you know just maybe something freehand on the side, and I'll say, oh, I like the way I did that. Even if I take notes, if I try to replicate it, 6 or 7 months down the line, maybe it's not as good.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I found that when I do it 2 or 3 or 4 times in a row, like with chain painting something, it kind of builds the muscle memory for it, and
Hmm.
then the notes will make more sense.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
for me. For me, I found that out. That's it. It helps. It may be a little bit more monotonous, but for learning how to do something, an effect that I really like glazing a shoulder pad, and
Hmm.
getting going from two primary colors, doing it several times in a row helped out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense that it would, but it's also one of those things. It's experience, right?
Yeah.
It's doing something that you're like, oh, okay. And it's funny you mentioned muscle memory because our mutual friend Jason Serrato had mentioned that to me as well. Like as painters, you kind of develop a muscle memory.
Yeah.
And when he said it, I was like, really? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like it's not like a it's not like a sport or something. Not like dribbling a basketball. But that's absolutely true. You'll grip the brush a certain way. You'll kind of like you may pull back on something. You're thinking, oh wow, like my hand's naturally it already knows that it needs to pull back a little bit to
Yeah.
get the right angle.
I found that often too, like when I've taken a little bit of time off from painting when I come back.
Mm-hmm.
It takes just a couple of days or a couple sessions to get kind of warmed up again.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely something that, deteriorates and degrades for me. I found that out anyway. I
Yeah.
imagine like any skill or.
You know, I noticed the other day I was eating sushi and my hand would hurt from holding the chopsticks, and that's a recent thing since I started painting miniatures. I think I'm using the same kind of muscles in my hand that I would when I'm holding a set of chopsticks.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep eating sushi. I'm gonna find a way, power through it.
If you're hearing like a vibrating, that's just my mixer as I'm mixing some paints here. So,
You know what's funny is I used to do the exact same thing. I used to warn the audience when I was like mixing paint together. I'd make that noise, and I'm doing this, right? And you'd hear it hitting my hand, and I would
uh-huh.
say to the audience, like, guys, if you're hearing some weird noise,
Yeah, just being honest. If you're hearing this over and over, if you hear this, I don't know if you can hear that. Can you hear that?
I can, I can, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's just a little can mixer going off on the side there.
Oh, that's cool. You have one of those. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that I don't even use those. So like, tell me about this. Is this it?
I recommend them highly, man.
Okay.
This is just my opinion, but I think that they're awesome. Is it necessary? No.
Yeah.
But I just, as a matter of course, now every time I just grab a paint, because I have a wide paint selection, sometimes maybe many of these paints haven't been touched in months.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'll just mix it up really good using the vortex mixer and just hit it for 5 or 6 seconds, and just mix it up really good.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Because I find that I've had to get rid of paints. Like use purple all that much. I went to grab the purple and shook it up, and oh no, there was nothing to shake up. It was just hard, hard as a rock.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't want to bag on any paint ranges or anything like that. I use a lot of different paint ranges for different reasons, and a lot of them are really good, and some of them are not as good as others.
Hmm.
But without going into too much detail, I just, when possible, I like to use paint and dropper bottles.
Hmm.
And if the paint doesn't come in a paint dropper bottle, I really like the range. Even so, I'll buy the paints I want from them and put them in drop bottles.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
yeah,
That's so
yeah.
you've gone full drop bottle. Like you want to be able to pull the paint out of its source location and then on a palette or something and kind of use it as you want,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
and
Okay.
measured according to like one drop of this, two drops of that,
Right.
exactly one drop of this, maybe some, 3 drops of flow aid improver, or whatever
Hmm.
it might be. It
Hmm.
just it helps me be a little bit more exact
That's awesome.
um, in
That's a
my
good tip.
purpose.
For painters going out there, that's next level stuff, man. That's what you want to achieve. And I absolutely agree. I I won't do it all the time. Sometimes I'm painting a piece just because I want to paint something. I just want to get some color on it. I'm not trying to, be fancy with it. But when I want to really explore a color and kind of like find a color, you've got to pull it out. You've got to like mess with it. You got to mix it down. You got to do all this. Um, and it's funny you bring up like flow paint and stuff because it seems like you have actual things you use to
Yeah.
improve the paint. Tell me about that because I don't. I'm using water. I'm using here. Let me. Oh, I don't know if you can see it, but let me grab it. What's it? Mixing, thinning, whatever it is, thinner, paint thinner. I think it is.
It depends on the meat. Okay, so let's see. How do I put this? If I'm using my airbrush, I'll have of course you always hear about the consistency of skim milk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thin milk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But how you get there matters, depending on the paint, how much pigment is in the paint, whether you're going from something like uh, Chimera paints or Scale 75, Chimera being heavy, heavy pigment, and Scale 75 being decent pigment, or Games Workshop or something in between,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, I'll use basically the majority of paint, several drops of flow improver, and maybe a dash of water or something like that. And it's kind of just a by eye thing, and depending on which paint brand I'm using, I kind of have my own recipe that I just know what it looks like for me, that I like to do it. And now
Mm-hmm.
somebody may work with something that's even thinner.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Mm-hmm.
depends on where your comfort level is. And visually, I know the paint, when its consistency, what it looks like, my comfort level.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see it, I know I'm there. And yeah, I always try to thin my paints, and it's better for me to go too thin.
Mm-hmm.
rather than not thin enough,
Hmm.
because you can always thicken it up, or when it's thin, if you're working in really super thin brush strokes, you can always go back and
Yeah.
just add a little more. I mean, it's like it's kind of like the Bob Ross painting, being friendly with it, and just, yeah, like, even if you like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to put that green there, it doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
because you can just easily go back and just wet blend it over with thin cover coats, and just it'll actually add variation. And
Well,
like,
yeah.
when you see something in the shadows that's a little bit off color, it actually looks all right. So just don't worry about it.
There's so much there in that, and just that idea of like, hey, don't worry about it. Um,
Don't worry about it.
it honestly is just about having a good time, exploring it. You're the only one that's really going to see the mistakes. Another painter may see it and mention it, but at the worst case, no painter is going to. I think only another painter would really be able to notice that and be like, "Ooh, kind of messed up there, right?" It's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I see that little mark there. I think your brush got a little too close." And but even then, it
even
wouldn't
then,
be
maybe. Yeah, yeah.
maybe. You know.
Maybe, because when I look at other people's paint jobs, I often, don't even find myself, even though I should be, I don't even find myself looking at the details. I just like, oh, how does that read on the table? Oh my God, that
Hmm.
looks really cool.
Hmm.
And then when you bring it up and look at it up closely, maybe it doesn't look as good, but it's like, well, these are game pieces in the end of the day, right? They're supposed to read on it, at least, just the way I think of it personally. And I know there's you can subjectively take that in another direction, like for display pieces and pieces that you're going to put on your desk, and a showcase piece, for sure. But for the most part, a game token on the table, I like for it to read well there, and I just like having fun making that happen. That's what I like to do.
And it
So
does. It
if it
absolutely
does,
does. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see. So we have some comments in here. Hey, that's me. Time to set up your game, EC. Uh, I don't know who that is. Say hi. It just says viewer on my side, so I can't tell who you are, but welcome. Thank you for saying that. I believe I might be David. I could be wrong because he's talking about setting up a game. If it is, and this might be a good time to promote it. Um, we do have quite a few streams coming this week on the Gamery. We are playing Fury of Dracula tomorrow against
Oh, that sounds
Quince.
fun.
Yeah, the digital edition.
Ooh.
I know, because you've played like the base edition, right?
I remember. I think we played one time at game night. I think I played with you and a couple
Was
other
it?
guys
Yeah,
once.
maybe. Oh wait, yeah, I do remember that. It was a long game, and we were trying to find someone who was Dracula.
I came in late. I came in late to it, but I remember kind of going through it. I can't say that I've played a game all the way through and give enough information to kind of judge it as a game.
Hmm.
I'd have to sit down and do that a couple times, but it looked fun.
And so it's a hidden movement game in which one player is Dracula, and he's moving across Europe, basically trying to spread vampires, and create influence. And the other players, up to four, are trying to hunt him down by moving
Mm,
city to city and to see what city he's been to because he leaves a trail of cards, excuse me, in his wake. So it's a very cool game on just on the table, because one guy's Dracula or one person's Dracula, and you're trying to find them, and table talk is all public, so you can't hide and be like, okay, well, we're not going to tell Dracula what we're doing. He knows everything we're doing, and
he's Dracula, man.
he's freaking Dracula. Like he's
Come on, dog. That's
I
Dracula, man.
know, like it's Gary Oldman, and Gary Oldman's still Dracula. Like he's not giving up the role. Like he's just gonna be Dracula forever. But the
Nice.
digital edition of the game does so much of the background work for you that it makes it a lot easier to play. It makes it a lot easier to understand. You don't have to kind of worry about the little like nitpicky things. Um, it takes care of that for you. So it's a very cool game. We're going to play that tomorrow. Fury of Dracula. I think we're starting at like 8 o'clock or something. Pretty late start. Um, After that, we're playing Wingspan. Have you played that?
No.
Oh, that's such a cute little game. If you want a game that you could play with family that may not be gamers, but they're kind of interested,
Hmm.
it's an adorable game. You basically are just attracting birds to your habitat.
Okay.
And the cards are beautiful. It's Stonemeyer Games, which is Scythe is another one that they've
Oh
done.
yeah, I played it. I played
There you
Scythe. Yeah.
go. So if you like the artwork and components in Scythe, Wingspan is great. The digital edition captures it perfectly. It's beautiful. I've played it a bunch this weekend, and I was really just blown away. I was like, oh, this is like if you play Scythe Digital Edition, it's not bad, right? But
Hmm.
a lot of what Scythe is kind of solitary, anyways. So it's not that big a deal to play digitally because you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna be doing this myself anyways. Like I wouldn't be interacting with people. But in this game, it is a pure solitary game, but it looks so charming and adorable that the digital version just really kind of brings that out.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That's gonna be Wednesday. Fear Dracula tomorrow. Wingspan Wednesday. Check it out. The game is gonna be happening. Now we do have some more um, comments in the field. Let me go ahead. Common Rider, I believe I know you. That's Jackie's husband, if I'm not, mistaken. You know Jackie too, Chris. I think she's come around. She's been to,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I know her husband. I used to work with that
Oh,
guy a
there
long
you
time
go.
ago.
There you go. Yeah. He's watching. He says, I imagine Chris would make a good Dracula. Actually, I'm not entirely certain he isn't Dracula in real life.
Well, we've all got our secrets, right?
Actually, Dracula would be a miniature painter, I think. He's sitting there just lonely thinking about, I'm going to eat someone later tonight, but first, let me finish these wings. Oh, I'm trying to. Oh, this. I need to get a new gray. I got a
What,
Peath.
what what kind of paint? What kind of paint are you using right now? What do you got going on? What's on your
So,
palette?
believe it or not, I have been using the same set of paints that I got on eBay for about $40 over 3 years ago.
I believe
Right.
it, dude.
Yeah.
If it works for you and it's doing its job, I mean, dude, what? I
Exactly.
mean, why
Exactly.
complicate it, dude?
Exactly. So I've bought a few
No.
pots. It's P3,
Oh,
right?
dude,
Pirate
P3.
Bay.
Yeah, I don't have any of it, but I've heard wonderful things about P3.
Oh, I use it right out of the tub. Honestly, like
That's
some,
incredible,
I water it down just a little bit.
right?
Um, but for dry brushing things like that, it's great. And just actually, just if you really want to get it heavy on certain spots, you can use it right out of the tub. Oh, it's perfect. I mean, it's what I'm used to using. Um, yeah, mostly P3. What about you? What kind of, I mean, airbrush paints and acrylics are a little bit different, right? Like the brands, like you can't really use.
No, yeah, no. You can use airbrush paint and just apply it. It doesn't even
Oh,
matter.
really? Oh, good.
It,
Okay.
it doesn't make any difference. Like you can Vallejo Model Color, let's just say it's
Uh-huh.
not a brand I use all the time, but I own it and I do use it fairly, whenever it calls for it. But let's just say we're using that. It's a super thin paint,
Hmm.
but if you're painting in thin coats, yeah, dude, that works. It works. It works great.
Oh, it's awesome.
Um, yeah, so as long as you're a fan of the thin style of paint, you can use any kind of paint. Even lately, through people I've seen online,
Hmm.
I started to kind of mess around with a lot more of inks and spraying down a sketch first using inks. And inks are super thin, but
Hmm.
there's so much pigment in them. They're kind of like a well, they're kind of like an ink, you know. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
yeah. Okay,
yeah,
that's what it's
yeah,
gonna do.
yeah. So if you're gonna paint it on a brush, I would recommend diluting a lot. Um, but if you're gonna use it for the purpose of going over an undercoat, but yeah, no. If it's an airbrush paint, no, you can use it. It's fine. You
Okay,
can
I
paint
didn't
with it.
know that. I never used airbrush. I'm not too sure, or like, I don't know if I'd want to go that route yet.
It's subjective,
Is it?
yeah, you don't like if you want to one day,
Hmm.
let me know, dude. I'll let you know everything I know, which isn't much, but
Hmm.
um, and it's pretty straightforward, especially for in the beginning, just the mundane things like base coating. If you have especially a box set or an army, you can base coat it in literally 10 minutes, and it's a very efficient use of the paint as well, especially if you have your favorite paint and you don't want to go through a whole bottle of it, and
Hmm.
thinning it down and airbrushing it is a really
Ah,
economic way of making the every drop, down
right,
to the last drop.
right.
You know.
That's a good selling point. I never thought of it that way.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Cause
yeah, yeah. That
yeah,
matters.
especially for like armies. I don't play Warhammer, so it's funny
It
because
could be it could be a box set.
right,
You know.
right. But it's the same thing, right? I imagine like it comes in handy when you're doing like a whole army or whatever. But
Hmm.
like if
Yeah.
you just want to get anything, like I mean, of course you're gonna have sets of stuff all the time and anything. I think about that. Maybe I should start looking at airbrushing. I'm doing so much other things right now. I don't know if I really want to go down that route, but it is tempting.
It definitely has its uses. I use the airbrush fairly as an integral part of my work pipeline,
Okay.
but you don't have to. I'm not saying, oh, dude, you got to. That would be absurd. You
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
by any means. But I enjoy it. But then again, I've seen some people just by using hands, um, I just on YouTube and stuff like that, just sheer masters, just blending by hand, and over a course of like an 8 or 9 part video,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just amazing work. It's truly inspiring,
Mm-hmm.
and I could try to match that, but I know I can't. So I just do the best what I can with the tools that I have, and that I'm happy doing.
Mm-hmm.
I also
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be getting frustrated and feeling that I'm not making accomplishments, and
Mm-hmm.
feeling that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting better. But even though I'm a big fan of trigger time, whether it be on your airbrush or on your paintbrush, just get behind it and just start doing it. And
Trigger time? I don't. Is that a reference or something? I don't.
yeah, like if you want to get good at shooting or something, you get behind the trigger. Same thing with the airbrush.
Oh, I hear you.
You get
It's
you get your.
expression.
Yeah, it's just an expression. Just get in there with your airbrush and just start using it, and don't worry so much about um, how good does it look, how good is it supposed to look. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like with your paintbrush. You just get in there and have fun doing it, and seeing what it can do, and seeing where it can help you out personally
Mm-hmm.
and subjectively. It's like the Bob Ross thing. Just have fun, and just put some spray here, some spray there. If you get a little bit of overspray, that's okay.
We
It's
won't
okay.
tell.
Yeah, we won't tell. Exactly. You know what? No one's gonna notice. No one's gonna notice. And I've seen people do that in airbrushing videos. And when I first saw it, I go, "Oh my God, they're overspraying." And then when you look at the end, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make the slightest bit of difference.
Yeah.
Nah.
I want to check in real quick with the chat. Our Facebook viewer is Neko. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, Nico?
So we should probably check in with what we're actually painting. I don't think we've actually said. I'm working on Rhino from Marvel United. This is a Kickstarter game that just came out. I'm very happy with it, and it's a pretty simple game. It's not a game that's very complicated as far as most. I think Chris and I would be considered a little bit more advanced in our board game or just gaming in general. Like we're a little experienced, and Marvel United is pretty simple to for us, and it's a co-op to boot. But it's got so much replayability because it has all these different villains and heroes to choose from, and they all play just a little bit differently.
I like
Um,
that.
yeah, and it's Marvel too. So if you're a fan of Marvel, it just you're like, ooh, this is just fun. Just a good old fashioned fun. And
That's
Rhino,
hard. Hard. It's hard to beat, right?
it really is. I mean, isn't that what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to play
Yeah, and
games to have
just have
fun.
fun
Yeah,
and enjoy playing them, and
yeah.
just have fun.
And Rhino is one of my favorite Marvel characters. I was always a big fan of him. And in Marvel United, he's one of the hardest bosses. I guess bosses or villains to fight and win against. Um, and we've brought him out the table like 3 or 4 times, and he's killed us. We haven't beat him yet.
Also, it's
So
like when you put them on a table, it's like, oh man.
yeah, oh, it's absolutely that. It's absolutely that. So after that, I thought, well, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and throw some paint on this guy.
Funny you should mention that for that character.
Mm-hmm.
This guy I'm painting is the Butcher from Kingdom Death, And Kingdom Death is kind of like you set up your village and you go out on these hunts and
Mm-hmm.
you gather resources like a monster hunting game, whatever. I'm sure people know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the butcher, when you put him on the table, this guy's he's basically um, he's a gatekeeper. So, are you ready to go any further? You'll know if you've built the right way if you can get past him, because if you haven't, you're not going to get past him. He'll wipe your
Wow.
he'll wipe your settlement. Yeah,
Yeah.
he won't wipe the settlement per se, but he'll get it to the point where you'll think about starting over, because he'll kill your four top characters or whatever.
Oh, good
You
lord.
just
Yeah.
smash them. Yeah, and there goes weeks of work, but that's okay.
Is the game
That's
that
okay.
brutal? Because I've never played Kingdom Death. So is it that brutal where you could? It's almost like D&D in a way where you can set up as much as you want, but when the game starts, things will
Yeah,
change that quickly.
it's brutal. You don't get hooked to the don't get
Mm-hmm.
kind of hooked on the characters per se, because you're constantly making new ones. You're just trying to do right by the village.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it's kind of hard not to. And when you do get smashed, which does happen, you just, oh well, do better next time.
Yeah, that's the way it
Yeah,
goes. I
it
like that. Okay, that's good. So it's not like Gloomhaven, which I
uh,
felt Gloomhaven like not training wheels, but kind of right. That's like the best way to describe it. Like it's a very complicated game. It's a lot of fun to play, but you're as long as everyone works together, you should be fine.
yeah, that's not the case
And Kingdom
in
Death.
Kingdom
Okay.
Death. Yeah, yeah, no, 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 no. It's not going to be fine. Um, but what does fine really mean?
Yeah. Good point.
Maybe part of experience in the game are the highs and the lows as well.
Yeah.
If it's just all fun, win win win. I shouldn't say fun fun fun, because even when you lose in the game, it is fun. But you wonder, how could I do better? And don't think of it so much as like, oh, we failed. It's just we learned how to not wipe. So
Yeah.
let's let's not repeat that and try something else. But
You remind me of another board game that is fun and you should always expect to lose is Eldritch Horror or Arkham Horror. Those are two games that kind of remind me of that, where you can go through a long process of setting them up just to lose.
just to lose, right? But that's part of the game, right?
It's
And
part of the game.
you know that going in.
Yeah.
It's not as though you're showing up to your D&D session and your GM just decides to totally, you know, um, party kill you,
Yeah.
and you weren't expecting it. Now you know that when you're heading out on a hunt, that's in the cards, man. That can happen.
Yeah.
Um, it's on the table. So,
How often do you play Kingdom Death?
well, um, prior to the pandemic, it was about twice a month.
Okay, so consistently for a
Pretty
campaign game.
consistently,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I had a couple groups going. Like, I have my wife and her friends, and then I have my friends, and those were different groups. We played in different areas. So um, maybe with each group it was only once a month, but since I was playing with two different groups, it ended up being about twice a month. Sometimes a little more during the summer,
Oh, that's good.
perhaps, maybe.
Yeah. You were spoiled on Kingdom Death from what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little spoiled. I started playing with one group of friends, and I knew that my second group of friends would like it, so I picked it up, and we just, we were playing another game pretty religiously. We were playing Age of Sigmar,
Oh,
and
sure.
then we just got into Kingdom Death, and it was just no turning back. We just started Sigmar just kind of went off to the side. Um,
Kingdom Death knocked Sigmar off your table. That is impressive. Cause
for the most part, yeah, and it's for a number of reasons. One, it's apples and oranges as a game comparison, right? They're two
uh,
different types of games,
hmm
but there are it's a really fun game. And the minis are just beautiful.
they
And so,
are.
I could say the same thing for the Age of Sigmar. It's a fun game and the minis are beautiful. But there are, off the top of my head, without, bashing any game for its, anything like that. There could be some issues with war games with balance and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder um to have a consistent fun time when inherently one army is just superior to another.
Yeah.
Sure, there's still a lot of fun when you're just chucking handfuls of dice. You still have fun.
Hmm.
But another thing that might make Kingdom Death better for some people is that it's co-op. You're not playing
Hmm.
against people. You're playing with your friends to make something happen. And I found that that was a lot of fun too. So
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, yeah. I mean, when you're talking about Warhammer compared to just a regular co-op game, yeah, yeah. You're right. You shouldn't compare those two. I shouldn't even make that analogy. It's just I've never heard that before. Because
well,
Warhammer's, yeah, it's such a awesome immersive system that I've never played, but I'm aware of it.
it's fair to ask because at the end
Yeah,
of the day, they're both games, right? I
they're
mean,
both
if you're going to
games.
play a game and I say, "Hey, what do we want to play tonight?" Do we want to play this game or that game? And you're making a choice based on which one you might think is better for that, group that day.
Exactly.
So you are making that kind of choice in a sense.
Yeah.
So it's fair to ask. Um, but yeah, there are huge differences, of course, as well.
So, what games have you been playing recently? I mean, since the pandemic and everything, you're playing at home, I imagine. Like, what games?
Yeah. Okay. So most of all of well, not most of all of my board gaming has pretty much fallen to the side.
Mm.
But I've been playing every week. I have my D&D group, and that started with the pandemic. That was another group of friends I had um, who've been playing for years, and they got onto Roll20 like I think it was like 2 years ago.
Mm.
So they were already doing that as using Roll20 as an aid to their tabletop system by
Mm.
using iPads and stuff like that. So when the pandemic hit, they were uniquely positioned to just roll with it and
Yeah,
just cancel the game session, but pick it up on Zoom and go Roll20. And so I got an invite to that, and that was in the beginning of the year. So when the pandemic kind of first started, and I found myself bugging out of game night, and I just never looked back. They play every week, and it's my fix. I need it.
that's awesome. That's so awesome that you're able to get that. That's great. And I've heard that from a lot of people that like moving to D&D or moving to RPGs was a lot easier than they thought it would be. Right? Like just doing it online, you still kept the fun
Oh
of
yeah,
being in
yeah, yeah,
person.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And for me personally, the first couple sessions were a little bit like, okay, what's going on here? Well, just figuring out the app, the dice rolling, using Beyond D&D, whatever, just everything
Right.
integrated. But once you're on the hop up and running, it was easy and fun and seamless.
It's
So
seamless. It's awesome.
and I'm not like particularly saying that those that Roll20 or Beyond D&D is like, oh, that's the way to go. There are a lot of ways to get there, and however you get there is however you get there.
Right.
But um, that's been working for me in this group, and I'm glad we're doing it. And you know, it's been a lot of fun.
So I'm looking at your feed right now, Chris, and if
Uh
you
huh.
can, is there any chance you can drop it down a little bit closer to the mat?
Yeah.
Let's see. There it is. Perfect. Right there where it is.
Uh huh.
Yeah. Now we
That's
can
good.
see it. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly where we can see it.
Okay.
I just kind of
Shoot.
noticed. I looked up and I was like, oh, it's too close to the camera.
Uh,
Um. So that's is that still the butcher?
yeah.
Nice. I'm actually been adding um, spots to the rhino because I noticed that he had these little bumps all over him, like a hide.
Oh yeah. You're trying to flush that out. It's like
Yeah,
free detail, right?
yeah, exactly. Like I was thinking, like I dry brushed him with a gray. Well, I used the base coat of like a kind of a dark green, almost. It's what is it called? I can't pronounce it. Cryax Bane base. I don't know if that sounds familiar. I started using that, and then I went over it with a dry brush of gray, and now I'm picking out these little, almost like moles, is what I'm kind of imagining them as.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just putting little dots all over this place, and I'm really liking what's coming out.
That's good. Yeah. I'm just adding just a bunch of detail here. I've had this piece on this model holder now for months, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna eventually get around to adding some detail."
Does he
So
have
I
the
haven't taken it off.
Does he have like claws for feet?
Now he's wearing plate mail leggings or boots that kind of flare up to spikes
Uh,
on his toes.
oh, nice. Oh, Jesus. Terrifying. Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's go ahead and get the rhino's face up and running. Get some flesh on there. You know, I tell people on this stream that you're the one who taught me how to paint eyes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. The method you taught me of paint the lines as if they're looking at you, and then go in a circle around the line.
Uh-huh.
I try to do exactly that. I don't always achieve it. Sometimes I just go, forget it. I'm just gonna go freehand. But that's always where I start out with, is using that technique, and then from there I kind of peel off as needed.
Yeah, that it can only work for so many minis, right? I mean,
Yeah,
some minis just the head isn't oriented that way, right?
yeah,
So, it like anything else with art, it's with the as needed or
as can be applied.
as can be applied. It's
As can
so
be
such a
applied.
loose rule,
Yeah,
such a loose rule of thumb, to try to take in these lessons that we learn. I often do that, and I try to apply it somewhere else. And though it was a fair application per se, it didn't work out just because maybe the mini
yeah,
just wasn't going to go that way, man.
yeah.
And I'm the issue, not the mini.
Let's see. So now I'm gonna add some flesh to the rhino.
I wish I could see what you're working on.
You can jump on the stream. You can kind of see that actually might help too. So you can tell when your
Yeah. Okay.
mini's
So
off.
how do I do that?
So do you have Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook? How do you like to watch?
Yeah. Yeah. Just Facebook. I'm right here right now.
Facebook. Okay, then just go to my page,
Okay.
and I think it should
I think
show up, or it's going to
yeah.
be on the
Got it.
Gamery. Yeah, you got it.
Got it.
Perfect.
Got it. I'm going to link right now. I'll just turn off the sound so it doesn't echo out or anything.
Yes. You know what? He's too white. Not that I have a problem with something. I'm saying that the paint's coming out a little too light, and I'm not really catching a lot of this of his face.
Okay, I can definitely see what you're doing now. Oh, yeah, dude, that helps.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so now you see it. Because I don't think when we were setting this up, you actually saw what I was painting.
No.
See, I was calling off the back there, the different little white spots back there, kind of changing up the hide a bit.
Hmm.
I'm loving
Oh
where
yeah,
this guy is.
there's a huge delay, dude,
Yeah, yeah,
on the video end.
yeah,
Okay, but that helps to know. That's a good thing to know.
yeah. I don't think audio's affected, which is what, that's a real problem when, um, if the video and audio is delayed for you, you know, but
Yeah.
for the streamers and the people at home, it's fine. You guys can see it. It's just a little bit. How do I want to play? You know what? It's time for the bone. Time for Jackbone to get this rhino horn up and running. So again, I see a lot of people just joined us on the stream. This is the Gamer. I am your host, EC Bond, with my friend Chris DeLeon. We are both painting miniatures tonight and having a nice conversation. I am working on Rhino from Marvel United. Chris is working on the Butcher from Kingdom Death. I was going to say about Kingdom Death. This game came out a couple years ago. I think 2 years ago, if I'm not right. And it was
Oh,
one of
dude,
the
it
most
came out a long time ago.
right. Yeah, and it was like
Yeah.
the one Kickstarter that almost broke Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool that it's actually lived up to the hype because a lot of Kickstarters come and go and are never heard from again.
It's everyone's still waiting for some stuff actually. You
No
know.
way, really?
Yeah, 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 yeah. But to be fair, I mean, it's easy to be frustrated, but to be fair, when the Kickstarter, was active, they did say that it was gonna take a while, and it was supposed to, I think, come out. I forgot, like, something like I want to say the end of last year. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not although it was several years ago, they're not technically that late.
Okay.
Um, but they are late. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I actually had a problem with Kickstarter, and I've recently gone back and forgiven it and started back and things again. Um, because I was getting a little annoyed at things coming late and things hitting retail. That was an issue for me. And I don't know how you feel about Kickstarters. I mean, are you into Kickstarters at all? Is that something that?
Yeah, I am. I like Kickstarters. I don't. It, it's not a perfect system, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
but I like more currently. I mean, I got into Kickstarters for the minis,
yeah.
right? And I like to play games too, but not so much. Like I primarily got into it for the minis, so I was buying um games for the minis. But recently, I've just got into people's work that I like. I support them on Patreon and get a monthly subscription to to a few Patreons, and I get to paint the minis I want, and I don't end up with a lot of game board pieces that I'm never going to use, or you know, re- I have some games that I know I'm never going to play,
Hmm.
and I've even watched videos of people playing them and they didn't look fun. And
but you wanted the minis.
I wanted the minis and I have
Yeah,
them and I got them, and I'm happy that I got them. But looking forward or going forward, I just don't want to do that so much anymore. I don't mind doing it here or there, but
yeah.
primarily I'll get what I want, get STLs and just print them and just go from there.
That's a cool thing to just pack the Kickstarter for the minis. And I think it's a weird thing to kind of wrap your brain around, especially to explain to people. It's like, well, I'm back in the game. I don't really care about it. I just want the minis. And just,
Yeah,
yeah, right. It's like a thing you have to explain. It's like, well, what does it matter? It's if I bought the game just to play the game, it'd be the same thing as buying the game just to get the minis. Like it doesn't really matter what I'm spending the money either way.
yeah. It would be really cool on some of these Kickstarters that they would have that option. Just plastic only.
That's an idea. Oh, that's an idea.
Plastic only. I would do it.
Yeah, right. I would absolutely release a Kickstarter game like, oh, you're just gonna get the minis. Here's the
Yeah,
mini
just the
option.
minis.
Yeah.
Uh, Keep your rule book. Keep keep the board. I'm sure it's fun or not.
I could see that with Zombicide. You're like, yeah, I know how to play Zombicide, uh, but I just want the minis. I don't really care about it. I just want the minis.
Not to mention that my friend he already owns everything on Zombicide and it's already
Yeah,
painted to a very high quality.
yeah,
So I've ended up duplicating, as a group, we end up having, a couple of versions of a game, and mine are still in the box in the plastic. I eventually one day, hopefully get around to painting them, but I know for a fact it's never going to get played. So
right. Because you already have this one set there. You're like, well, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we already have this one set, and he's got the terrain all in there and
Hmm.
everything. It's a totally immersive experience, far more than just you know, the game out of the box.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think that's gonna be a thing when we come out of this pandemic, is people aren't gonna buy a lot of games, especially if they have someone who has the game. I think that could be a thing that's like, oh, you know what? Like FOMO is going to kind of go away. I think FOMO is kind of going away in the board gaming industry because of COVID. There was a little bit like you had to come to Jesus. It's like you're going to spend this money for the game. Your buddy's going to have the game too. And you're going to sit here for a year. You're not going to play it. It's going to sit on the shelf. So maybe pass up on it. I'm saying this and out loud for the first time, hearing myself say it, and you know what? I'm wrong. That's not what's going to happen. Um,
you never know.
yeah, I'm looking at your stream, dude. You changed the coloring on that.
No, I didn't change anything. I noticed it too. It went all purple. I haven't done anything.
Oh no. Oh no. That's
No, that's the same lighting since we started. I like when I move it around, it seems to like recalibrate a little bit. It'll update on yours, and the color seems to go a little bit normal. But
yeah.
then I see that there's kind of like a corruption or I see a
Interesting.
lot of colorized pixelization. You can tell in the background under the name Chris because it gets kind of pink
Yeah,
along the wall.
yeah.
Yeah,
It looks like it's cleared up now. Looks like it was maybe just an angle. Maybe it was picking up some light from something. Who knows? This
I wonder
whole
if I turn.
streaming thing is a thing I'm learning on the job how to do. All right, I'm liking where we are. What time is it? We are at the 45-minute mark. How are you doing, Chris,
Wow,
on
really?
time? Yeah,
45 minutes.
yeah, yeah.
It
45
feels
minutes
like it's been
already.
about 5. Feels like it's been about 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I wanted to mention it. I was like, oh, look, we're going pretty strong. You know, just getting this.
I'm good. I'm just doing my thing, just painting, talking.
There you go. Let's see. I want to do some armor here. I don't want to do anything too crazy. Where's my platinum? Here's my radiant platinum. I'm liking the yellow on the butcher there.
Oh yeah, trying to. Let me see if I can give you a better shot of that. That's like a. He's got these. He's got a bunch of human heads that he collects on him, and he turns them
Oh,
into lanterns. Like basically, those are other settlements that he rocked, and he turns them into lanterns and puts them on his cape and stuff.
it's so brutal.
It is
So
brutal.
brutal. I don't know if this platinum's gonna work for my purposes.
It's okay. Bob
Yeah,
Ross it, dude.
Bob
It's
Ross.
okay.
You know, I never actually watched Bob Ross. Never actually watched the show.
It's a good show, man.
I wonder if it's still on somewhere, like
You
Netflix or
can you can
something.
you can you can find it. You can find it. You can find
Yeah,
a lot of them on YouTube. Yeah.
that's something that I don't know if you'll be able to get these days, right? Like, I mean, kind of what we're doing would be a modern day Bob Ross. It's like who would want to sit down in front of the TV and watch two dudes paint miniatures?
Yeah, maybe, but
Yeah.
there are people, it's
I mean, right now
it's
there are three of them, so
yeah,
that's good.
that's three people, right?
That's
So
three
there you
people
go.
right there. But he also kind of like taught painting in a way too.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
That guy's a master, dude.
yeah,
So
yeah,
um, he's really a good guy to watch just to see, if not for nothing else, his philosophy of painting. And I've tried to kind of incorporate that as much as possible when I am myself painting, and
yeah,
not get worried about, like, it's okay, it's okay, just keep going. When I first started painting, I would obsess over the mistakes,
yeah,
which I'm constantly still making, but I just don't obsess over them anymore. Just move on. Just keep going on, and the work will just blend in, and it'll be all right.
yeah. That's perfect. I never thought. I didn't know like that was like a Bob Ross thing, but it's absolutely true. You know, and it's like anything else that you creative you're doing. It's like you really don't know where the mistakes are as a, like from the finished product. You know, like you get to the end of something, and usually it's just about the feeling, the emotion it that people respond to, but they're not really looking at the mistakes. You know,
Yeah,
unless it's
it's a good way to enjoy, to help, enjoy doing what you're doing.
right.
Just
Oh
don't
no.
worry about the mistakes. Don't worry about it.
Well, I say that
Everything's.
now, and I made a huge mistake on my Rhino right now. I
Let's
got a
see,
little
what
too.
what was that?
I got a little too much platinum just below the shoulder bone here. I think I was just being a little frivolous with my brush.
Oh, that's all right. It's an easy
Yeah,
fix.
I'm not too worried about it, but I saw it. I was like, I'm talking about mistakes as I make a mistake. How quintessential. It's bound to happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't even address it until you were close to, until you needed to.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
That
like
that's
like before I would stop what I'm doing and go back with the original color and try to fix the mistake.
really
But now
okay.
I just keep going, and when I reach a certain point, if it still bothers me, um, you know, and then I'll,
Yeah,
I don't know, just mix it in a little bit or whatever. But I don't worry about staying in the lines so much to speak
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Just
What I've learned to do is the next day I come back and I finish things.
That's a good one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
leave it there
Take a break.
overnight. Yeah, just leave it there
Yeah.
overnight. Let the paint dry. You'd be
Uh-huh.
surprised how much of your work is already done if you just let the paint dry. Just stop messing with it. Just walk away.
That's true. Let the paint dry. Let it
Let the
dry.
paint dry. It's gonna be fine. You'll see it in the morning, and then you'll be like, "Oh, I can fix that. No problem."
Or maybe just leave it and go, wow, it now that it's dry. Also, a lot of times when the paint dries, it becomes more transparent, right?
Hmm.
So coming back to it later, that mistake you made, you say, oh, I overpainted. It's become transparent. Maybe it looks like a weird shadow or something,
Hmm.
or you know, no color is its true color, right? So,
Hmm.
like a pair of blue jeans isn't blue in the sun, right? So
Hmm.
you get weird colorations anyway. So sometimes it's just like, yeah, I meant to do that, man. That's
Oh
right.
yeah. Oh yeah. It's isn't it funny? You tell me if you've ever experienced this. I've had people like the ones that like I'll show them a group of minis, right? And I'll paint a
I,
mini, and I'll be
I
like,
know where you're
"This
going.
was terrible. This is a
Yeah.
horrible paint job. I'm embarrassed. This is just like the worst thing." And that's their favorite mini.
Yeah. 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 And they'll say something like, "Oh man, I let's just talk about like that overpaint you're talking about, right?" They'll
Uh,
say, "I like how there's this color variation over here under the shoulder," and you're like, "Yeah, kind of worked a little bit to get that. Had to flesh it out."
yeah,
It's
my
true. It's true.
you know what I'm gonna say when someone brings that up and say my buddy Chris taught me to do that.
Yeah,
He taught me
that's
I
called that's
just
called the Chris
it's
technique.
called the Chris technique. Yeah, you overpaid and you just
Just
leave it there.
just leave it alone. Just keep going.
Just keep going, he'll be fine. Has anyone ever asked you to teach them how to paint, like to sit down and be like, "Hey, let's show me how to do this"?
A friend of mine from Vancouver asked me to um, help him get going on airbrushing and give him some basics, but not to the extent of like paint theory and color theory. No, no, I can't say anyone's ever asked me.
Oh, interesting. Oh, because it's because I would think people ask me that, and it's very strange when they do. Like, how do you do it? Can you show me how? I'm like, I can't show you how to do this. Like, I'm not. I have a theater degree. I know nothing of the colors or anything. I found out. I just learned online.
Yeah, and a lot of times, even still, sometimes how I got there was an accident.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. A lot of it. I mean, you learn by making the mistake, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
check this out. Oh, interesting. I can do that instead. Oh,
right. And then you learn, oh wow, that's an effect.
yeah.
Like, I'm gonna have to remember. I'm gonna have to memorize how I got there because it's kind of relevant.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. Your book here is purple again, and I think it works because now it looks like a character out of Halo. It
Yeah,
works.
see those flesh tones, right? Those flesh tones. Yeah, that's no accident. It's not an
Exactly.
accident.
Not an accident. Yeah, it's great.
It's all right. It's all
Someone's
right.
someone's gonna
It's
watch
okay.
this stream and then they're gonna look for that mini. They're like, "Where's the purple?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a great question. Where is the purple?"
Yeah. See, I don't know what's up with that color balancing thing. I don't care. It's all right.
It's fine. It goes away. It just
Yeah,
kind of comes and goes. It must
it's
just be
okay.
like a reflection or something that the camera's picking up. Doesn't matter. This
It
is the
doesn't matter at
first
all.
time that Chris has actually streamed his painting. So I hope you enjoy it, man, because watching
Oh,
you
I'm having a
work,
great time.
yeah, watching you work is great. So not just on my screen. If you want to just set up and do your own thing, I think you can. If you enjoy it, by all
I'm
means,
thinking
bro.
about it.
Yeah, man.
Thinking about it. I mean, since you invited me onto the show, I had to kind of make it so that I could show anything,
Mm-hmm.
and now I have the lighting and the camera
Mm-hmm.
um, and the stuff I would need to at least get going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clearly, like I have work to do on finding out my viewable area and doing it in a comfortable way. I have to kind of hone in on that, but it's all right. Bob Rossage, it's all right. It's all
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. Bob Ross had a whole team of producers and cameramen to help him out, so it's not fair.
Totally.
He was spoiled. Yeah, but I'm enjoying this. This is fun. Just to have another painter in the room, so to speak. and Rhino's coming out pretty good, I think. Um,
Yeah, he's looking good.
yeah, I want to add some blood to him. Actually, I want to add some blood on the horn. I think that'd be pretty cool. Because he's trampling people, you know.
Hell yeah.
Right? He's a little something. I This is actually a funny story because it's funny. It mentions the blood. So I play a lot of Shadespire. Or I used to play a lot of Shadespire. Underworlds. So it's like the
Shadespire.
Warhammer.
I've heard of. Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I know what you're talking about. I was
right,
like,
right.
I've heard of that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Warhammer like 30-minute skirmish game.
Uh huh.
That's like low price entry. You get minis, you can paint them, and that was like one of my painting things. Was like, oh, I guess I want to step up my painting game. Let's get into this game. So I painted a faction of Chaos. I don't know. I forgot. They were Chaos Warriors. It was from the first set of Underworld,
Mhm.
of Shadespire Underworld. So I go to a tournament. I go to a Warhammer store to play, and I'm like really proud of my minis, and I'm showing them off. And the first thing the guy says to me, and he was being nice, he wasn't being a jerk, but the first thing he says to me, he's like, "Where's the blood?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Blood for the blood god. Where's the blood?" And I
Yeah,
went,
yeah.
"Oh, that's a
Uh,
that's a great question." And he's like, "You can't have this
uh.
faction without blood." I'm all, "You're right." I came in last in that tournament, and it's because I didn't have blood on my.
You didn't have the blood, dude.
Yeah,
You didn't. Yeah, you didn't do the blood god justice,
I
dude.
didn't
You
do
got exactly what you deserved.
that. That's what I needed to hear. I needed to hear that. I was like, "Oh, you're absolutely right. There should be blood on these guys." Let's see what we got here. I'm doing a lot of platinum on this guy. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but I'm just gonna keep going. I wanted to make him a little shiny. I think that's why I feel like the platinum was necessary. So Kingdom Death Monsters on your table now to paint. Um, is there? I know we talked earlier that you kind of have all these other things that you were thinking about painting. What's some other minis you got on your
Uh,
table waiting to be painted?
right now I'm actually going through. I can pop one of these up and you can look at it. I'm going through Cursed City,
Okay.
and I'm starting to paint the. When it pops up on your screen, you'll see there's a delay, but I'm going through, and it's a box set,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm painting those. So I have those. I have some Blood Bowl I'm painting, and let's see. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. That's
Nice. And Cursed City is Warhammer, right?
it's a Games Workshop Warhammer game. It's a box game,
Oh, it's a box
standalone.
game.
Yeah,
Oh,
but of course, Warhammer. So those minis you can use them in your Age of Sigmar armies,
right.
which is just like, oh,
I never played Age of Sigmar.
it's a good game.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. For what it is. I could see how it would be difficult to balance it. I mean, what a chore that must be. All those armies and trying to make sure that every single army doesn't have an advantage over another one, or if they do, make sure that there's a way to counter it. I mean, that's a lot of balancing.
And
Um,
when you say balancing, is that a matter of like someone is telling you, "Hey, I got this in my army," and you gotta be like, "Oh snap! I better think of a way to counter that," like that kind of balancing.
well, no, because like usually when you play, it's not really fair to look at someone's army and then build an army to counter it. That's not
Okay.
really good sportsmanship. So you just say, "Let's play on Saturday," and you don't say what you're going to bring, and you bring it. You bring what you have. But since
Oh,
you know your friends and you kind of know what they have, right?
right.
Um, it's they're still you can't look at their quote unquote army list because there are a lot of ways to build an army. You can have it be range heavy or spell heavy or effects heavy or just control heavy, movement heavy, just whatever combinations you're doing. So you don't
Oh,
you can't look at someone's list and then tailor your list on the spot to counter it. That's not cool.
okay.
So that being said, though, there were some armies where you know, they just own, and especially the ones that came out later, to just do fantastic. They just have, oh my gosh, for their points, look at all the stuff they can do, and my stuff came out first, and
Oh, I
for the
get it.
points, it's like you can't really do much. And
Yeah,
of course, you can always say, well, there are players that do well with that. Sure, there are those, but when you look at the tournament lists over and over throughout the cities and all across the world, actually, you
yeah,
can see which armies are doing good and which ones are not. And it's the meta, right?
right,
So
right.
um, it matters.
It does. I mean, it's competitive wargaming at its
Yeah.
heart. It's competitive wargaming, so it absolutely makes sense to say like, well, you're gonna beat me up with your army just based on what I'm seeing right
Yeah,
now.
you're
Like,
gonna you're gonna that's a perfect way of putting it. You're gonna beat me up, dude.
yeah, it's like, do you like this? Is this what you get off on, you bully? Is that what this is?
And these are your friends, right? So no, you're not. That's not it, right? You're trying to keep it just friendly, right? You don't want it to get all salty, of course. So maybe let's play some Kingdom Death. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe do a cooperative game.
yeah. Let's play some Kingdom Death.
How about that? Do you want to do Kingdom Death again, please? Can we just do that? I want to do that. Let's just do that instead. Um, Cooperative games are coming back for me. I used to be out of them for a while. Marvel United's bringing me back. There's this awesome game called Black Orchestra where you play as um, Germans in Nazi Germany trying to assassinate Hitler.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
Yes, it's a very cool, and they're all actual people. You play actual people that did try
So
to
you're playing Operation Valkyrie over and over.
exactly. Yes, it's Operation Valkyrie. It's exactly that. You
Yeah.
have that character. I think Operation Valkyrie was one of the few that actually got pretty close
Oh
to getting
yeah.
them.
Hmm.
But there were others, and it's really heartwarming to kind of like to read these stories of like, by the way, this
They
character
tried.
tried to do it. They got caught, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you hear that, and you're thinking, yeah, like it wasn't all bad. But the game itself is a very good co-op. Um, and I say that because it's a co-op that you can't really alpha. Like the person whose turn it is to go, you kind of have to let them do their thing.
Got it.
Because the way that like you have to work together, it's very tricky to pull off the conspiracies, right, to assassinate Hitler, where not everyone is going to be doing separate plans. Eventually, everyone kind of has to go, all right, Chris has the best angle to succeed. We all need to rally and help him get there. And that's
Yeah,
how you
yeah,
win.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Very cool game. I was blown away by just how cool it was. Um, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I guess that's it. Marvel United, Black Orchestra changed me on what should we call it, co-op games, because before I wasn't really a fan.
Yeah, but that's really all I'm painting right now.
Yeah,
Looking forward to getting back into actual tabletop gaming and maybe even visiting Sigmar again. Who knows?
nice, nice. I think some of the I've seen posts that some of the Warhammer stores are gonna start opening up in June for in-person tournaments and things.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. There's one up here by me that I keep getting announcements from saying June is the date, June is the month. I mean that we're gonna start letting people come back into the stored up game, and it's like, oh, that's gonna be really cool again. Yeah, some of the board game shops around here have started to do that. Have started to open up.
I'm glad to hear that.
You know. Now I'm putting some Ajax Earthshade on the Rhino's horn. Let's see, Chris is mixing some things.
I'm
It looks
just,
like.
I'm just, I'm. Mine probably looks pretty boring because I'm just going at adding cream and white colored dots to find highlights everywhere. So it probably doesn't even look that much different than when I started, but
It's a,
maybe it does.
like I actually during my lunch hour I came up here and I started painting this rhino because I
Uh
feel
huh.
like the boring part to watch is the base coating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
That's just like you're just drawing in between the lines just up front just to get your sketch down and just
Exactly.
okay, just laying down the groundwork.
Yeah. And I feel like that's not that interesting to watch. And I was doing that before um, on Watching Paint Dry. I was doing that where I would just show you painting everything from start to finish. And it wasn't until recently that I said, you know what? It's really boring to watch. Sometimes they just want to see the detail, see the little parts of it come to life once you once you hit it from a certain angle. And I absolutely love washing bone to pull, like, when you got a mini with really good um, I guess skeletons. Oh, I love painting skeletons.
I like painting skeletons too. Um, there's a lot you can do with bone, whether it be like kind of corroded or
Mm-hmm.
rotting or
Oh,
but what is not a favorite thing of mine to doing is painting like 30 or 40 of them at a time. I kind of like I painted a Nidhogg army, and
uh-huh.
you got these chain rasp and for the most part they're like skeleton wearing just rotting clothing and stuff like that. And
Uh-huh.
first couple were all right, and then I said, oh, I'm just going to chain paint these, but there's I had to do 40 of them and with bases. And by the time I was done with it, I was just rushing through it. And I said, I don't ever want to do this again.
Yeah. Have you ever painted zombies? Because that's fun. I found painting zombies is amazing.
I've painted zombies.
I feel like with zombies you can make the mistake and it doesn't matter because it's a zombie. You can-
Right? Yeah, yeah.
right? Maybe he did step in a big blue paint tub on his leg and
Right? Yeah, he did.
yeah, that's I meant to do that. That's fine.
Yeah, maybe he did spill a pot of coffee on his chest. That's not misapplied wash.
That's like he was. It makes sense if you just think about it. Like everything I did makes perfect sense when it's a zombie.
Yeah, yeah. He spilled a pot of coffee on his chest in the diner where he was attacked.
Right? I'm doing teeth now. Teeth is also a fun one. Let me ask, because I see you doing details and things. Do you is it? I imagine you're just kind of feeling it out. Like you're looking at it, going, "All right, I'll paint this right now." Or is there a system?
At this point, I'm just adding points of variation of different colored highlights. Um, varying from warm to hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of trying to keep, near the light sources, trying to keep it brighter because I don't want the values on the other part of the bottle to um, outshine where the light source is supposed to be coming from. Because then it looks, even if it's ends up being a cool paint job, it looks kind of weird, in my opinion. So I'm try to avoid applying white to an area
Mm-hmm.
that I'm just trying to highlight with respects to the lanterns around it. But even so, later on, I'll look at it, especially under the sunlight. And the good thing about the white is if it's too hot, you can just go over it with a couple colors down. Just put a dab on it, and it's all gone. And
Hmm.
since it's really really transparent, it just adds up more built up detail layer. So you really can't go wrong,
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. It's all right.
Um, do me a favor if you could bring your hand up a little bit. There it is. Perfect, right there. It's always a tricky thing. I didn't want to like stop you right in the middle of it, but I was like, oh, I guess wasn't catching it on the screen, so I wanted to let you know. There's so many details in that mini too. Looks like he's got
Yeah,
pants. He's got like a little flap in front of him, and then there's the chainmail or the boots, and the armor, and then his
yeah. He's
arms.
got
Like
a lot going
he's
on.
got a lot, right? Like his arms. Is that just like wraps, like multiple?
Yeah, just multiple layers of different types of wraps and Um, my arms look pretty sloppy in my opinion, but there's just so much going on that you could this one. It's time to really just put it down. But
Yeah,
yeah, just move on because there's just so much detail on this model that you can really just keep going. And at some point, you're just going over brushstrokes you laid down just an hour ago,
yeah,
and just building up, building up, building up, and it's at a certain point, it's just like, well, maybe I'll get more bang for buck if I move on to other minis.
yeah. And if you really feel that strongly about it, you can come back. If you really
Exactly.
feel that
Yeah.
strongly about it, you can come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just finished a set of minis yesterday, I think it was. Um, Mass Mora, another Simon game. It's in the Arcadia Quest universe. I had some minis that I wanted to give to a buddy of mine who moved back to the area. Like, he's a really good guy. We play a lot of games. His name's Brandon Jen. He's a good friend. I like him a lot. And he had moved and come back. So I wanted to give him something. And this was like a year and a half ago. And I started painting these for him. And they just sat here. Like, I was just not like feeling it. I was kind of just doing it because I wanted to. They're chibi minis, so I wanted to practice doing chibi style models, right?
Oh yeah, I've painted some of those before. I knew
Yeah.
it. The name sounded familiar. Yeah, 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 yeah. I've painted some. It was a couple years ago for sure. But yeah, yeah, yeah. I painted a set of those for our friend Jason actually.
Oh, okay, yeah. How'd you feel about that? Because it was different than what I'm used to.
The How did I feel about the paint job or the minis?
Oh, just the minis, like painting, working with that style, because it comes out a little cartoonish already. Like the minis come to you already kind of looking cartoonish. So I felt like, I don't know, like with like these minis, you could change it up. You can kind of make it humorous. You can use like fun colors. But with the chibis, I not that I felt like strung by it or like
They're
not.
not my favorite minis.
Yeah, like I didn't have a lot of options. Like, okay, well, this is just gonna be fun, right?
Yeah,
Like I can't do a lot with it.
it's like anything else. The more you push it, like if you want to make it uh, look like an anime cell shot, then there's the catch of the light in the eyes, the square, and all the extra detail you can put in there to make it look like a comic strip.
Hmm.
But that's kind of a lot of work, and it's not easy. It's easy to talk about, but it's not easy to do.
Mm.
So just by itself, just like let's just say a quick paint job where you're putting it on a base coat, you're doing a wash, and you're adding a layer of highlights and then a final layer of highlights. Let's just say you're doing that.
Hmm.
Um, Making those minis pop like that by doing that type of work is not as maybe as fulfilling as doing it on something else
Hmm. Hmm.
because of the art style of the mini itself.
Yeah.
But they were still cool looking. It's always cool to see something different though. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm okay
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's found to be a little different style than I'm used to. So did not like it
Yeah,
though.
I'm looking at the feed. I don't know where that discoloration is coming from.
I
It's
think
kind
if
of
you
annoying.
if you move the mini further away from the camera, it might help if you can.
Yeah. Let's see if I put it down here.
Yeah, it's still kind of coming up.
Hold on.
Hmm. But it's not as bad.
I put it really far away. Just as a test. I want to see.
Okay. Oh, it's perfect. I got his eyes. I don't know if I can get it to come out on camera, but I got his eyes. I'm gonna fix this right now because I got his eyes. Yeah, the purple doesn't look too bad right now.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just keep it like that, just for the sake of the feed. it's a little awkward to paint at, but until I figure out a different way of doing this, I'll just keep it like that. It seems to.
To kind of like that angle. And honestly, like this is the first time, and there really isn't a way to practice live streaming. You know what I mean? You got to kind of do
Yeah.
it, and then you see, oh, well, there's that. And Google, like the internet's a great place to just kind of search and say, my camera was giving off this blue hint and everything. What is it coming from?
Well, yeah, like when I moved it away, it seemed to register the colors, although it's a little blurry.
It is a little blurry. Just where the camera's focusing on.
Maybe I'll have to work on that.
Yeah. Well, we're at an hour 15, so if we let's do another 5 minutes and then we can
That
call it.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Oh man, thank you for being on.
Yeah, this was
Honestly,
fun. So
this is a dream come true. This is what I wanted to do since I started. Doing the live stream on paintings is have two painters kind of next to each other, chatting and showing off their minis. Um, I am your host, EC Bond, with my friend Chris DeLeon. I've been painting the Rhino for Marvel United. Chris has been painting the Butcher from Kingdom Death. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. We can get back to you and let you know about these games if you're interested. Or if you want some tips on painting. Chris, this is good. You had mentioned that you do watch a lot of painting videos.
hmm
Is there anyone you can recommend at this point that you would say, hey, if you're interested in starting painting, this is a person that you can find?
yeah, there's a guy named Paul Tan from the Collective.
Cool.
Um,
Paul Tan.
lately, I've been watching a lot of his. There's always the usuals. Like Miniac and
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the other guys' names. There's about two or three other people that everybody will know that does a Google search, but
Mm-hmm.
or a YouTube search. But Paul Tan from the Collective, he doesn't come up as often, but he's really good, and he gives tutorials on Games Workshop stuff and current stuff like Cursed City. So
Oh,
you can
nice.
find him. He's pretty good. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you for joining me. This
Yeah.
has been a great
Thank you for
time.
having me.
You're very
All
much
right.
welcome. Awesome, dude. Have